Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? We got some new updates revolving around the helicopter that crashed in the Hudson in New York City, taking the lives of 6 people, a family of 5, from what we understand, a technology executive, Siemens technology executive, and his family lost their life, and they were a family of 5. And then, of course, the pilot themselves. So we've already gotten that information before, of just yesterday, but now we're getting new information on the identification of the pilot, and also a theory that's roaming around here now, saying that this has to do with a Jesus nut, that maybe the Jesus nut is the cause of this whole tragedy to begin with. It's something that's on the helicopter. It's something I've never heard before in my life as well. It's something new, and we're going to get into that conversation in just a second. But first, we need to talk about the identification of this helicopter pilot. And from what we have heard and learned right now, his name is Shawnkeese Johnson, or he goes by Sean. All right, he is a former Navy SEAL, as you see here in the title here. Okay, but apparently he loved flying. He had just moved to New York City to pursue his dream in aviation and all that. And unfortunately, this was the tragic end to his story, and of course, to that Spanish family of 5. So let's take a look at this article. This is very, very interesting. And of course, wanted to give you guys this update, these breaking news pieces of information. And of course, this one's getting shared like crazy, like wildfire. Okay. But he dreamed, of flying. This was his dream to do this. All right. So former Navy SEAL Shawnkeese Johnson. So take a look at this. The pilot of the helicopter that went down in New York City's Hudson River Thursday was a former Navy SEAL who dreamed of flying. So says his wife about 24 hours after this tragedy. There's Sean right there. Okay. He goes by Sean, but his full name is Shawnkeese Johnson. All right. Former Navy SEAL. And again, may he rest in peace. And, prayers to the family, because this is very tragic as well. Katherine Johnson confirmed, his wife, confirmed that her husband, Shawnkeese, who went by Sean, was flying the Bell 206 helicopter when its rotor blades flew off and it spun out of the sky. It's crashing into the river, or into the water below, and taking the lives of 6 people on board. Sean had recently moved to New York City to continue his pilot career, and Katherine said she's at a loss for words about the crash, adding that it's a very difficult time for her. While she and Sean had been separated for a few months, Katherine says the two remained close and last spoke Wednesday, just a day before the helicopter went down. And we've all seen the footage. The footage is absolutely insane. It's heartbreaking and really scary. I'm just going to say that too. As you know, multiple angles showing the crash have come out since the crash, showing what appears to be the blades from the helicopter detaching in midair and sending the craft into a tailspin. And even the back of the tail of the actual helicopter was ripped off. So you only see the actual front of the helicopter plummeting into the Hudson River. It's weird, it's crazy, and there's a lot of theories going on. And we are going to be talking about this Jesus nut theory that people are apparently talking about right now. Okay, the helicopter had turned around to refuel prior to the crash, though the reason for the tragedy is still under investigation. Again, the fact that the helicopter had to turn around to refuel makes me wonder what's going on, unless it was on its way back. It had enough fuel to land, to go back to where it came from. And then while it had landed and they were able to deplane the family of 5, then that's when they would have refueled the plane. Okay. So no matter what the plane was, or refuel the helicopter, I'm sorry. So the helicopter went back to refuel doesn't mean that it was out of fuel and just stalled in midair because it was out of fuel. Something meant, some mechanical problem happened for sure in midair. That's what I truly believe, because I just don't see someone like Shawnkeese or Sean Johnson making some sort of rookie error like this, especially if he's had hours and hours of experience flying and operating helicopters, right? It just seems like a massive oversight to not fuel before they took off. So I don't think it's the cause of that. But we're going to talk about this Jesus nut here, okay? Along with Johnson Technology Company Siemens executive Augustin Escobar and his wife and their 3 children also lost their lives in this crash. But again, former Navy SEAL. And I'm wondering, again, how much experience did this particular, did Sean Johnson actually have? Did he have a great amount of experience, or was he still kind of a novice? I think that's something that we're all trying to figure out and get down to the bottom of, right? Getting those answers as quickly and as best as possible. But again, I just don't see a touring company just giving a novice the job. You got to have a certain amount of hours to be able to operate a helicopter, okay? Especially when you're doing it in a professional field like this. Doesn't matter if it's combat or not, you still got to know exactly what you're doing, right? So I am kind of curious about about his hours and his experience. But at the same time, whether he was a novice or not, and if this has something to do with something mechanical, it may not even matter if he's a novice or an absolute expert. If this thing just broke in the middle of the air, then it broke in the middle of the air. So we don't know. We're going to look at it. We're going to be talking about this here even more. But apparently there is a theory. They're saying fears faulty Jesus nut sent helicopter family plunging to their demise as loved ones share heartbreaking tribute. Okay, so the grieving family of the helicopter crash victims in New York, okay, on Thursday shared a heartbreaking tribute amid speculation over the cause of the crash. It comes as aviation expert Julian Bray suggested that a faulty Jesus nut, quote unquote Jesus nut, which holds the entire rotor system together, could have been behind the tragedy. So we already know about the family of 5 and the Spanish family that was there and what the father did for a living. And I know that there's going to be a lot of theories running amok right now that maybe it was some inside job or this was a coordinated hit on him and his family, but I don't know. But one thing is for sure, that they are still talking about this possible Jesus nut. And they're saying that the faulty Jesus nut would have caused the helicopter blades to break free from the rotor while still in motion. So this one screw basically that keeps everything together, the blades to the rotor and all that stuff, there's a possibility that that thing just snapped or got loose and then everything went belly up, right? So as it detached, okay, the spinning blades would have ripped through the body of the chopper before it crashed into the water below. And this is what this particular person, this aviation person expert, Julian Bray, said. Okay, so hence the reason why the tail of the actual helicopter was ripped off. That the blade could have just cut right through it and caused all this problem, right? And we already know about the footage that shows this tragic moment and all that. Okay, and they even say that this wasn't a super old helicopter for what it's worth. So that's also an interesting thing because of course we're all wondering like how old was the helicopter and all that as well. Bray told The Sun what appears to have happened with this particular helicopter is that the rotor, the main rotor, the one on top, had detached because in one video you see the blades spinning away from the helicopter, but this appears to have sliced through the back half of the helicopter, so the fuselage, all right, then drops like a stone into the river, okay, right opposite of Pier 41 in the Hudson River, okay? There's a particular procedure which has to be checked every time it's serviced, and it's known as the Jesus bolt, or this paper is calling it the Jesus nut, okay? Because without the whole thing, Without that, the whole thing falls apart. It looks as though it's the Jesus bolt or Jesus pin. It's either defective or wasn't tightened up, or for some reason it sheared. So again, the question is, was there an actual did the maintenance actually check all the boxes when it came to making sure that everything was on par? Okay. And that's not only just on the maintenance person, whoever is responsible for looking and keeping an eye on the actual uh, aircraft itself. It is also on the pilot too, because if I'm correct, the pilot's doing all the checking with the actual person who's making sure, doing the look over on that particular helicopter or that aircraft as well, right? They're going, okay, everything's here, all the bells and whistles, all the tools inside on the dashboard of this helicopter are all doing what they need to do. Or it might be like, no, we need some more oil, or it's low on oil, or we need more fuel, or whatever it may be, right? So it does make you wonder, how can they check to make sure that something like the Jesus nut that keeps the propellers, and the rotor, and all the machinery that keeps the helicopter up in the air, how can they really make sure that that isn't starting to deteriorate over time? Because if I'm correct, this helicopter was a bit older as well. I mean, I think it was about 2 decades old, 20 plus years old. So again, something like that. Is there procedure that is being done to make sure that everything is up to par and not slowly falling apart? This is some scary stuff. Okay. And very tragic stuff. And I know that there's a lot of people that feel some type of way about this. And I feel like the more we get more information, the more we get more insight on what actually happened. And to me right now, it just looks like one very, very tragic accident, but anything's possible. That's the video. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. We'll talk here very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.